Recording now.
So you're recording it, right?
Yep, it's recording now.
Okay. So, hi, good morning. This is Ray and also my teammate Kimber, and we're going to present cognitive interview. And today we're so happy to have Wallace Spindler Jr. and Echo Allen here to help us with our presentation as interviewees. So before we really introduce to our topic, we would like to play a short video. This video is produced by footage cameras and is similar to a scene you might see while watching the news. And after the video, we're going to ask our interviewees some questions, and we encourage all of you in front of the video can also think about our questions. Okay. So let us ask you some questions. Kimber, please start.
Okay, we would like to know if you can just describe what you saw in the video. Just maybe some general phrases, what your recall is.
Well, I saw 4 men arresting a woman that was walking in a street, and then there was another man that stopped his car and maybe tried to help the woman, and I saw that he pick up something in his car, maybe a gun. And there was also a DHL car that stopped, but it doesn't seem that the driver did anything. Yeah, I think this was what I saw in general terms.
Okay, thank you, Wallace.
Yeah, I think it would start off with like almost, I would say, like very suspicious activity, like stalking. Almost, you see 4 individuals, if a car drives by, they stop running to not seem suspicious, and they're following this person, and then they sort of all converge and attack the individual. I couldn't tell. I don't know. To me, it seemed like if they were going to rob someone, you like take off super fast, but it looked like almost a planned attack type thing. And then some bystanders it was like they were wearing a hat, I think, and a white and some kind of white stripes, like white and maybe blue or black striped top. Wow. And then I think like a purse, but like maybe like a satchel bag that went across the body. Um, wow, yeah, that's all I can remember, I think.
Well, before Ray asks her next question, I hope it wasn't too jarring for either of you to watch. I mean, I think Ray and I had the initial same reaction that you did, like, oh my gosh, this is caught on like some private video footage and it's basically happening before our eyes, even though it's not live, but you don't see that every day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Wallace, do you like remember, what do you remember about the victim?
Yeah, the same things that Echo said. It looked like it was a woman and was wearing black and white stripes, maybe a t-shirt. Yeah, and she was attacked. It looks like she was looking at her cell phone. Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay, so you think the victim is a woman or a man? A woman, right?
Yeah, I think it was a woman.
Okay.
How about you, Akel? What do you think? And what do you
I'm
remember
not
about?
sure. I'm trying to think if I remember like even like a ponytail, and I think that would maybe like coming out of the hat or something. I don't know. I don't know if it was a man or a woman.
Just I nod because as a way of saying I'm hearing you, not necessarily agreement. So I'm not saying that truthfully we don't know. Ray and
Right.
I have looked back several times, so it's kind of undetermined. So I heard something that Wallace said about what the victim was wearing. Maybe Akel, you can, and you said a couple of things. Can you maybe share some more?
I think I don't remember anything else other than like the type of clothes and the hat and then like the bag that the victim was wearing.
How about you, Wallace? Can you repeat what you said you saw?
Um, yeah, the person was wearing a black and white stripes cloth.
Mm.
I'm not sure what kind of cloth was it. Yeah, I remember, like Akel said, she was wearing maybe she or he was wearing a purse. What else? The person was not paying attention to what was happening on his or her surroundings. Yeah, I think that's it.
I think you guys are very, I think for just watching it once, you're very perceptive. So good job so far.
Then how many perpetrators were there?
I think
How
4.
many? Yeah, how many do you remember?
I think it was 4.
4, yeah.
Okay.
2 in white hood, one in red, and one in black.
I was going to ask, do you think the victim was aware of their surroundings as they were, moving, and neither of you believe they were? Okay. All right. And Wallace, have you worked for the police? Because you You have said like almost all of our questions or have answered in advance. So we were going to ask what were they wearing. You've answered, you know, their colors. Akel, do you kind of remember these same things that Wallace is sharing? Okay, good.
Yeah, because I was taking notes as I was watching the video.
Okay, good for you.
Okay, so what do you think is the perpetrator's gender?
Ooh, I'd say male.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, and do you remember anything about the environment of the whole, anything about the video you can talk to about the environment?
It seemed like a residential area. Maybe can't really tell, but maybe either before work hours or right after, because it seemed like there were cars. So maybe individuals leaving to go to work or coming home from work or something to start their day or end their day, versus like middle of the day when maybe everyone's out and there's no cars going by and it seemed sunny, like not a rainy day or anything.
Good. Wallace?
Yeah, well, what else could I add to it? Yeah, there weren't how can I say it? Well, yeah, I'm not able now to add anything to it. Yeah.
And at the end, a man got out of a silver truck. Do you still remember like what he is wearing?
He was wearing maybe a red or white it was not a t-shirt. It was a
Excuse me.
I'm so sorry about my English because sometimes I forget the words.
You can, what is your native language?
Portuguese.
Okay, you can say it in Portuguese and then maybe we will know, or maybe that will help, you know. You're doing great for having English not your native language.
Thank you. The man was wearing a shirtless,
Like a vest?
not a yeah, I will take the vest.
Okay. What do you remember, Akel?
Like I think I know it, maybe like almost like a muscle shirt, so there's no sleeves and it's just this part of the shirt.
Yeah, no sleeves.
Um I was
Que
going to
calor.
say um I was going to say maybe like a cream or white colored shirt. I don't think the person did not have a hat on, I don't think. And I don't remember if they were wearing shorts or long pants. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. And do you think this man was helping the victim, or do you think he is also a perpetrator?
Hmm.
Well, I remember that he picked something up in his car, and then one of the perpetrators run away from him.
Mhm.
So I guess he was trying to help the victim.
I'll say like at first I wasn't sure because I felt like when he pulled up and he looked to see what was happening, then he went back to his truck. I thought for a second like maybe he was opening the bed of his truck for them to like jump in so that they could escape. But then at the end, he went into the back seat, the back door of his truck to pull out something, and then I saw the perpetrators take off. So I would say I think he was trying to help.
And what else do you remember about this crime scene? like besides what we are talking about just now?
I remember a tree and like some other parked cars sort of blocking the view. So like even the person that was coming to help had to go around the parked cars to see what was happening.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And there was another car, the DHL car, but it doesn't seem that the driver did anything to help.
Okay. Thank you so much. That's all our questions. That's all our questions. Thank you so much for participation.
So we are gonna like continue with the presentation so you can learn more about cognitive interviewing, and which won't be very much longer. If you would like for us to replay it, maybe we can, the crime scene video, maybe we can do it after, just so that we stay within the required time frame for the assignment. Okay. You did very good, by the way. Very good.
So the process that we interview Wallace and Echo is one of the methods of cognitive interview. So what is cognitive interview and what are the methods of cognitive interview? Let's talk about it. First, about the history. In standard police interview, police would ask questions in a way that the witness was there only to confirm or deny information that the police already thought they knew. The interviewer led the interview. The interviewee spoke when they are given permissions to do so, and they are discouraged to adding extra information. So you can see why the quality of testimonies was so poor. So in the 1980s, a new style of interview was created called the cognitive interview. It was invented by Geiselman and his colleagues in 1984 and refined by Fisher and his colleagues in 1987 with the purpose of using their knowledge of how memory works and apply that to the interview process. And the cognitive interview is a method of interviewing eyewitnesses and victims about what they remember from a crime scene. The primary focus of the cognitive interview is to make witnesses and victims of a situation aware of all the events that transpired. Researchers also use these techniques to improve a questionnaire that is being developed and to conduct pilot testing. And there were two major subtypes of cognitive interview methods: think aloud interviewing and verb probing techniques. So for the think aloud, it is used to describe a very specific type of activity in which subjects are explicitly instructed to think aloud as they answer the survey questions. The interviewer reads each question to the subject and then records, otherwise or notes the processes that subject uses in arriving at an answer to the question. The interviewer interjects little else except to say, "Tell me what you are thinking," when the subject pauses. And there are several advantages of the think aloud techniques. First, like freedom from interviewer imposed biases, because the interviewer contributes little other than the reading of the survey question, and except to occasionally ask what other subject is thinking. He or she interjects little that may serve to biases the subject's responses. And also it can minimize interviewers' training requirements, because the interviewer mainly reads survey questions and then listens to the respondent talk. So little training or special expertise is usually necessary. And it is open-ended format because the subject's verbalization is guided only minimally. He or she may provide information that is unanticipated by the interviewer. Therefore, think aloud interviewing is especially valuable when the subject is outgoing, articulate, and has had significant experience with the topics covered by the survey questions. And also the think aloud technology has its own like disadvantages, such as need for subject training, because think aloud is somewhat unusual for most people, and the technique typically requires a long, trivial amount of preliminary training of lab subjects in order to elicit a sufficient amount of think aloud behavior. Such training may eat into the amount of productive time that can be devoted to the interview. And also the subject resistance. Even given training in the activity, many individuals are not proficient at the think aloud activity. In particular, they tend to simply answer the questions that are asked and without further elaboration, and also burden on subjects, and tendency for the subject to stray from the task, as well as biases in subject information processing. And another method is called verbal probing. As an alternative to the think aloud, the use of verbal probing is the basic technique that has increasingly come into favor for cognitive researchers. After the interviewer asks the survey question and the subject answers, the interviewer then asks for other specific information relevant to the question or to the specific answer it given. In general, the interviewer prompts further into the basis for the response. And the advantages of the verb probing techniques are like, first, you can have a better control of the interview. The use of targeted probing is guides the subject tailors the interchange in a way that is controlled, meaning by the interviewer. And this practice avoids a good deal of discussion that may be irrelevant and unproductive. And further, the interviewer can focus on particular areas that appear to be relevant as potential sources of response area. And also the verbal probing can really ease when training of the subject. It is fairly easy to introduce subjects to answer probe questions, as these probes often do not differ fundamentally from the survey questions they are otherwise answering. So in fact, subjects will sometimes begin to expect prompts and to offer their own spontaneously thought and critiques, so that the interview comes to resemble a think aloud. And of course, if the interviewer interjects of prompts, there will be problems like artificiality and biases. So for the practical aspects of the cognitive interview, it is just like other interviews. Like 1 hour is optimal. However, up to like maybe 2 hours is also possible. But be aware that longer periods make excessive demands on subjects. So we have found that good interviewer are those people who have experience in questionnaire design and have learned basic promises of cognitive interview. And most importantly, they need to have a good interpersonal skills, like are capable of putting a subject at ease and remaining non-judgmental in approach, like both professional and friendly. So overall, the pros and cons of the cognitive interview is that for the advantages, it serves as a more efficient method of memory recall and retrieval than in eyewitness testimony accounts. And its effectiveness is backed up by findings in studies like the Gazelman and the Fisher. And also researcher has shown it works well with children. Like Holiday in 2003 showed children aged 4 to 5 and 9 to 10 a video of the birthday party. The next day, they were interviewed about what they saw using a cognitive interview and also a standard interview, and more correct and details were obtained using a cognitive interview. And for the disadvantages, first, it is like more time consuming than a standard interview method. And for you because you get more accurate information, and then there's maybe more inaccurate information is also given. Cohen found that 81% increase of correct information, but there's also a 31% of increase in the amount of incorrect information given when enhanced cognitive interview when compared to the standard police interview.
So if you didn't know, if you haven't picked up on it, we performed verbal probing with you all, and you did very well. You were able to see the crime scene immediately after. And we're using that to help you understand and using your practice, cognitive interviewing. If you happen to do your own research, which you're in this class, so I assume that you are. And this is just kind of like the breadth and depth of how cognitive interviewing is used. Just a few of them in healthcare facilities, in sociology, police training, education. There are many more. I'm just going to, oh, can you advance this slide, Ray, please? So in research, how youth encounter and build understandings of AI concepts. In healthcare services, translation and cross-cultural adaptation of post-stroke checklists. In psychological evaluations, the cognitive interview is a tiered approach in the real world. One more, Ray. Criminal investigations, as we kind of went in depth with already. Policy evaluation, that one was on improving abortion underreporting in the United States. These are current studies that are none of them are older than 2019, and most of them were in 2020. Data collection, question evaluation for real-time surveys, lessons from COVID-19 data collection. The reason why I say that is because this is very recent, relevant research and very practical to use in your own studies. Again, please, Ray. And our Dillman text even says that the cognitive interview provides valuable insights even beyond that of a pilot study, which is a very powerful statement, because as we've learned from the class, pilot studies are extremely impactful, but this cognitive interviewing is even can provide more valuable insights beyond that. And it demonstrates how the implementation procedures might impact a response. In the 1990 Census of America, there was written on the envelope, your response is required by law. They did graphics that kind of covered that up. So this message was there, it was covered up, but previously it was shown to increase the response rate by 10%. Because it was covered, their response rate went down, which obviously did not make for a good response rate or make the government happy about having less respondents. And as you can see by these target signs, it has the potential to improve the current validity and reliability of an instrument, just making it hit that bullseye of both being reliable and valid. Again. Our future direction, which this is actually not a new method, but because of increasing popularity in methodological and technological advances, as well as being cost effective, is called eye tracking. So as you see this lady, and I'm sure there's multiple devices, she is wearing an eye tracker. It continues to decrease measurement error. So it's not suitable as a standalone method, but it is less obtrusive than when an interviewer is in the room and kind of guiding the questions, or, it reduces, because there is bias in that way, it's reducing the bias. And it allows the detection of respondents' conscious and non-conscious reactions. So when they go to open maybe a online survey, are they reading those instructions that are up front, those first clarifying questions? Because that may or may not be important. If the instructions are important, we want to make sure that they're doing that. And it can point to unfamiliar words or complex questions if the respondent continually has to go back to that area. So even though this is not new, it's trending this way, which I think is pretty cool and innovative. This is the end of our presentation. So I think we'll end it there, but if you have any questions, well, here's our address, our email addresses. Ray, do you think we should stop the recording or keep recording?
Yes, please.
Okay.
You can stop, I guess.
Okay, stopping now.